Content warning, this episode contains discussions of diet culture, beauty standards, aging, stuff like that. So if you're not comfortable with hearing about that, you can skip to the next episode. We'll see you later. So, does everyone have their beverages for today? What are you all drinking?
I have 3 beverages.
Oh my god, the bisexual way.
2. No, I have 2.
I also have 2. I have Coke Zero and water.
Oh my god.
I have a beer and water.
I have rum punch, water, and hot tea.
Wow. I only have hot tea.
I'm gonna tea at our break.
I have a fancy roasted green tea, a hojicha. Thank you very much. Yeah, very fancy.
That's the only reason you asked us.
Yeah, she just wanted to brag about her own drink.
You just want to brag about your fancy ass
No, I was
tea.
trying to make something... I was trying to make a transition into it being our podcast birthday, but then I'm not drinking booze, so it doesn't really work.
No.
Yeah. So I guess crack a beer open for the podcast.
You should.
Grip it and rip it, baby!
But yeah, now we don't have anything to toast with, because 50% of the podcast doesn't have alcohol.
Sorry, only
No,
have tea.
I think I am like, you can toast with whatever. It doesn't need to be alcoholic.
Oh yeah, you can toast.
Oh yeah, that's what I do
you
too,
can
in
toast
general.
with whatever.
My podcast knows what you read in the dark is 1 year old.
If you're here, that means you've been listening to an entire year of this podcast.
You know what's the most surprising thing about that is not that we've kept it, but that we've managed to have 4 people in like one chat talking once a month.
Yes.
I think that's the most surprising
adults,
part.
Honestly,
adults
We've
scheduling.
managed to like schedule.
Yes.
Yes.
We have managed to sit down at least once a month for the past 12 months and record an episode of this podcast, which is a feat in and of itself.
It really is. Especially when you consider, like, how busy all of us are at any given time. It's kind of crazy.
Take out the kazoos.
I really wish I had one.
Hi, and welcome to our first birthday special episode of My Podcast Knows What You Read in the Dark, a book club podcast made by chaotic people for chaotic people. I'm Lady.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Kristen.
And I'm B.
And we are 4 friends here to tell you what's what about the books we read and loved this month, or the books we hated this month. First up, we have Caitlin.
Yes! It's so exciting that we've been doing this for an entire year now. But we decided for our first podcast birthday that we were going to revisit the authors that we discussed in our very first episode. So if you guys will remember, the very first episode I brought A Worthy Opponent by Katee Robert, which is a kind of retelling of the story of Peter Pan, I guess. It features Hook and Tinkerbell in an alternate universe, and it focuses on a BDSM club that Tinkerbell works at. The series features standalone novels for other Disney characters and Disney villains. But if you don't remember, go back and listen to that episode. To revisit Katee Robert for our birthday episode, I read her brand new novel, Hunt on Dark Waters, that came out last week on the 8th of November. Oh, I can't wait to talk about this. Okay, so Hunt on Dark Waters is the first novel, and I believe it's a duology, the Crimson Tide duology. Evelyn is the main character of Hunt on Dark Waters. She is a witch who was raised by her grandmother, and she's been sleeping with a vampire named Lizzie, even though she was told pretty much her entire childhood and adolescence and everything, like, witches don't hang out with vampires. Like, that's not a thing. But against her better judgment, she started sleeping with Lizzie, who is not just any vampire. She is what's called a bloodline vampire. So she's incredibly powerful and very dangerous and obviously very rich, because aren't all vampires?
You gotta be, right? Otherwise
You have to be.
dead.
It's a fucking legal requirement to be super rich.
I think Lady read Court of the Vampire Queen.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, is that the same universe? Because
Yeah,
it
I
talks
feel
about
like
bloodline
this book might
vampires
be in
too.
the same universe, because it also had bloodline vampires.
I think she does that a lot, where some of her universes, they're not necessarily the exact same world, but they're kind of interconnected, because the Wicked Villain series mentions the both her Able series and, I believe that's what it's called. I think it's the Able series. But the Able series and there's mentions to Dark Olympus, which wasn't even out yet whenever she wrote that first one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so,
okay. I bet it is.
I think it's more like the worlds touch each other, but they're not really related, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, Lizzie is a bloodline vampire. And this, not relationship, but this thing that they have is supposed to be no strings attached, you know, no feelings. Lizzie is very cold and standoffish and has never been anything but honest about what she wants out of this situation with Evelyn, and that is nothing but sex. Of course, Evelyn kind of realizes she has gotten attached.
Of course.
Just as Lizzie tells her she needs to leave because Lizzie's mother is coming. And as I said, witches and vampires do not mix with each other. And a witch cannot be at Lizzie's house. She can't be associated with her. So Evelyn has got to go. Evelyn's fucking pissed because Lizzie's just kind of brushing off this situation that they're in and everything that happened between them. And Lizzie's very cold and dismissive about it, like she doesn't care. So Evelyn is like, you know what? Fuck it. Being pissed clouds her judgment. She decides to steal an entire tray of jewelry off of Lizzie's dresser as she's sleeping.
Bitch.
Hell yeah. We support women's wrongs.
Yeah,
Yes.
we support women's wrongs. I mean, I'd be pissed too if my girlfriend was like, my not girlfriend that I've been sleeping with for like 6 months was like, actually, I don't give a shit whether you live or die, but if you want to live, you should leave now. I'd be like, yeah, bitch, I'm taking all your fucking jewelry.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna live, and I'm gonna live with your rings on my hand. See ya.
Exactly.
yeah.
But as Evelyn is trying to leave Lizzie's house, she kind of gets turned around because it's a humongous mansion and she doesn't really know where she's going. She gets lost and she finds this kind of abandoned room covered with sheets and dust, and there is a portal inside, which they're very rare in this world. Lizzie walks in at the very, very last second and realizes that Evelyn has stolen from her and is pissed. So Evelyn was pissed that Lizzie was dumping her. Lizzie's pissed that Evelyn stole from her, and Lizzie is a, terrifying predator, so she is prepared to kill Evelyn. Evelyn escapes through the portal and explodes it behind her just as Lizzie is about to reach her, so that way Lizzie can't follow her through. But Evelyn ends up smack dab in the middle of the ocean, and she is knocked unconscious. The portal took her to a place called Threshold, which is sort of a liminal space between worlds. The different worlds used to be connected more closely, and portals could be used to travel between them. But something happened to pull those worlds apart and expanded the Threshold into its own realm in and of itself. Because Evelyn is knocked unconscious, she is rescued by Bowen, who is the captain of the Crimson Hag and a member of the Kuang Anun. So, for a brief mythology lesson, the Kuang Anun are actually creatures from Welsh folklore. The name in Welsh means the hounds of Anun. Anun is essentially the name of the other world in Welsh mythology. So these are basically spectral hounds associated with the legend of the Wild Hunt, and they're said to hunt wrongdoers and criminals into the ground, just as criminals did with their victims in real life. They dole out punishment.
I'm sitting here vibrating with excitement.
It almost has, the vibes of hellhounds.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I'm... Anyway, I know
Yeah.
this.
Okay.
Okay.
So Katee has taken this piece of folklore, this very real piece of folklore, and adapted it in a way that I don't really think distorts it any. I think it really does it's a cool adaptation of the folklore. Bowen, his crew, and several other crews in Threshold are tasked with hunting down anyone or anything that threatens the safety of Threshold and the people that live there. So they've kind of taken this myth of these dogs that hunt down wrongdoers and evil people in the real world and applied it to basically conscripted pirates. It's like she kind of heard the phrase salty sea dogs and said, dogs. I could do something with that.
I like it. It's cool.
Yeah, it's great because, like I said, it definitely pays homage to the original folklore that this is taken from and doesn't really diminish or distort that narrative, which I think is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Evelyn is given the choice to take the vow and join the Kunanun or die. Which, obviously, she takes the vow to save her own life, but has no intention of staying, immediately making plans to leave, or find a loophole out of it, or to find some kind of secret that is being harbored by the Kunanun leadership and use it to blackmail them into letting her leave.
Well, there's no way that this could go wrong.
There's no possible way that this could go wrong. Right? She's even more determined to leave when it becomes apparent that for all the protection seemingly offered by the Kunanun, something isn't quite right about the way that they're, like, forcing people to become these hunters, even if they were pressed there against their will. Bowen's ship in the galley, he says they have a family of brownies that live in the galley and cook dinner for the crew. And when she asks how they ended up there, how a whole family of brownies accidentally found their way through a portal into the threshold, he said that a vindictive homeowner pushed all of them through the portal and they didn't have a choice. Oof. And then they were still told, like, you can either take this vow or die because you're not supposed to be here. And she was like, that doesn't seem cool. They didn't come here of their own volition. Like, they were forced here, and you still made them take this vow.
Right.
Yeah. I really won't say anything more about the plot, because I know at least one other person on this podcast has this book on their TBR, and I don't want to spoil anything. But I mean, Evelyn is a liar and a thief. She's a big, curvy woman, but of course she has an even bigger heart. Bowen is built like a brick shithouse.
Yes.
Tortured and sad. He has a very complicated backstory. They are making out against a tree within the first 10 chapters.
I love that.
It's Katee Robert does magical pirates. Like, literally, what are you waiting for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see your point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm making great points. She knows what the fuck she's doing.
Katee Roberts knows what the people want. She really does.
There's a quote. Hold on. I have to find it. This is the moment right after they, like, make out against the tree, right? He's trying to convince her to stay because she has tried to run away, and he caught her trying to run away, and he's telling her, like, if you leave, they will force us to hunt you down and kill you. Like, there's nothing that I can do to stop them. And she is not really believing him, I guess. He is explaining it to her in very plain terms of, like, there is literally nothing else that we can do, and some of my crew members would be happy to hunt you down and kill you because they can't leave and they want to, so you trying to leave is like an affront to the things that they're putting themselves through. In this argument that they have after they kiss, he says, he just says her name, like, Evelyn, and she says, don't say my name like that. Like what? Like I'm infuriating and you want to kiss me again. That startles a ragged laugh out of me. You are infuriating and I do want to kiss you again.
Hey.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No notes. I don't have any notes. Like, it was just incredible. I, as I said on the very first episode of this podcast, I love Katee Robert. I love her books. She just has this way of, one, cutting into the root of what you want out of the book. Like, these characters, obviously, there's no logical reason why they would have some kind of inexplicable animal, like, attraction off the bat, but it doesn't matter because it's fun. You're here to have fun, to read this ridiculous romance while all of this weird magic stuff is going on, and it all works. Nothing feels out of place. It all works together really well, and it's just go read it. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, like, you don't open a Katee Robert book when you want, like, deep plot lines and convoluted stories and whatnot.
No.
Like, you read a Katee Robert book when
You want other deep shit.
yeah. Like, you just want to have a little bit of fun, you know? Like,
Yeah.
and I
Deep porn.
love that.
Yes. And the thing is like, even though these books are mainly for the smut, her plots are not bad. They're, like, fairly straight. Yeah, they're, like, fairly straightforward, and they're not really, like, they're not overly complicated or shrouded in different red herrings. Like, she gets to the point. Her plot points are wrapped up. Her characters they go through some kind of growth. Like, it's all very, I don't know, concise, I guess is the best word I can think of. But it just works.
And it works for like standalones too. Like,
yes.
Court of the Vampire Queen, the plot is so dumb, but it works.
Yeah.
Because, like, why are you here? You're here for a poly relationship between all these weird vampires.
Exactly.
Well, and even, like, the series that Caitlin talked about at the beginning, like, with the Disney villains, like,
no plot.
All of the plots are ridiculous. Like, we don't need a book like this, but we got it, and it's not bad.
Yeah. The only book in that entire series that I think has any plot is the one I talked about on the episode. All the other ones have none. But in this one, like, Tinkerbell her contract is up with Hades, and she has to leave, and her abusive boyfriend is trying to get her, so that's why she moves in with Hook. Like, that's the only one that has any plot. The other ones have no
Beauty
plot
and the Beast
whatsoever.
One, nothing.
They literally have sex in an apartment for like 300 pages, and it's the greatest thing I've ever read. It's the greatest piece of literature I've ever read.
You put it down and like you feel hot. Like it's like me and Caitlin were like, oh my god, this is like the filthiest thing you've ever read. But it's good.
Yeah.
All right, let's do a 180.
Yeah, let's do it the same way that we did in our very first episode. Let's take a 180 from Katie Robert over to Kristen with another Mona Awad book.
Yeah, so if you will remember in the first episode I talked about Bunny, which was an adventure to say the least. We're kind of staying along the same lines, so for this episode I decided to read her newest release also, which is called Rouge. I believe it just came out like not that long ago, maybe a month or two ago. And so in Rouge we follow Mirabelle, or Belle, a woman in her 30s whose estranged mother has just passed away in Southern California. So Belle leaves her home in Montreal, lady represent, where she works as a dress shop clerk, and she's coming to her mother's funeral, and while she's there, she's going to settle her mother's astronomical debts, sell her home and everything so she can move back to Montreal and basically move on with her life. But in that process, she finds way more than she ever could have bargained for. Belle has grown up with the idea that she's ugly, and in her adult life, she's obsessed with skincare and beauty. She has like a 40-step skincare routine that she follows.
No, ma'am.
It's
absolutely
insane,
not.
and she follows it religiously. She spends all of her money on it. It's consumed her entire life. It's all she thinks about. It shapes her life. Even when she goes to California for her mother's funeral, she forgets to pack a dress to wear to her mother's funeral, but she remembers everything for her skincare line. It just shows you like how warped her mind and thinking is when it comes to this. This book deals with beauty and our perception of it a lot. Just your envy at people who, in our own minds, have perfect skin or hair, our need to feel beautiful at all times, and our idea of what beautiful really means, and even what media and others consider beautiful. So, like, this book takes place Belle is a child in the late to mid 80s. And so in that time, a lot of the ideas of beautiful was blonde hair, blue eyes, pale skin. That was all over TVs and movies at that time and when Belle grew up. And so a lot of her thinking revolves around this perception of beauty. This book also really goes heavy into like generational trauma in that like how our mothers talk to us stays rooted in us long after
I could not read that.
No. Kristen, no.
Yeah, I don't think I could read that.
It can be hard to read, especially because, you know, during this novel, like, Belle's mother is dead. So, like, every perception of her you're getting is either, like, a flashback or just, like, her mother's voice in her own head, like, still speaking to her. That as you know, she reflects on like things that her mother would have said to her at that time, or how her mother would have reacted. And I just by the reaction that I got, we all have mothers who make these little offhand comments like, "I can't eat that; it'll make me fat. My skin looks bad in this picture. I look fat." Like small comments that they may or may not understand that just stay lodged in our minds forever. All of that stuff that gets passed down unwillingly, and we're just stuck to live with it in that pain and suffering forever, or we have to learn how to love ourselves again, even when they never did, even if they're long gone now.
Yep.
Yeah. Struggle, struggle, struggle. Mona Awad loves to bring these culty feelings into her books, which I really enjoy. I think cults are fascinating as much as they are terrifying.
Yes.
And when you really think about it, the beauty industry in itself is a cult. And it really...
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, that's pretty much what the beauty industry is.
Right. It's just a cult. And so it really shines in this book and shows itself if you kind of already weren't really painfully aware of it, which I think all of us here are painfully aware of the beauty industry and how cultish and freaky it really is. It talks about, like, the need to follow whatever the latest YouTuber tells you to do. Always buying the newest thing. Never straying from a routine. You know, buying 10 different moisturizers because an influencer on the internet told you that you had to have it. It's just little things like that. There's a YouTuber, I think, she's not labeled a YouTuber probably because she just can't be, but, like, there's a woman that Belle watches religiously, like, about her skincare videos, and, like, she only buys what this girl tells her to buy. She follows her routine exactly. Like, she's watched all of her videos 1,000 times, knows them by heart. And I think that, you know, that's really common now. Like, I mean, I don't know, you know, I know B doesn't have TikTok, and, like, I don't even think Lady has TikTok, but, like, you'll, like, scroll and see people, like, you have to run to Target and buy this such and such skincare thing because it'll bubble. It's just, like, stuff like that. And, like,
yeah. I don't use TikTok, but I see it in every other platform.
I see it
like
on Instagram all the time.
Yeah.
And my Facebook Reels is just full of this specific beauty influencer basically just, like, shilling for everything that, like, Maybelline brings out. So
My TikTok For You page is entirely filled with animals or somebody trying to get me to buy a new craft that I definitely do not need to buy. But my Instagram is like that. It's just so much of this trying to shove a specific kind of lifestyle down your throat.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't get it as much as I used to, like, but every once in a while, like, a video pops up and it's like, you have to have this new thing, and it's like, you know, I found out what works and it takes 3 steps. Why am I going to buy this $60 thing that you tell me I have to have? Whenever everyone's skin is different and everyone's routine looks different and no one is the same.
I buy makeup for cosplay, that's it. Like,
right.
I have my favorites and I don't buy more.
Exactly. So, like, this book really delves into that and, like, how insane it is, because you're seeing it from, like, an outside view of, like, into a cult, like, because everything is so extreme. Like, you look at it and you just think, oh my god, like, this is insane. And, like,
I'm literally looking at evidence of my 2012, like, beauty YouTuber indoctrination right now, and that is my Real Techniques brushes that I've had since I was in high school. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I was a victim too. Like, I still have things that I bought in that time. Like, I like Real Technique brushes. I still have, like, MAC lipsticks that I haven't used in, like, 7 years. All of that stuff, like, it was just so ingrained in you for so long. And, like, and if you were a young person during that time, like, and you had any kind of internet presence, like, it was shoved down your throat. And it still is. It's just, like, more narrow now, I believe. But regardless, I think that Mona Awad does a really amazing job at showing you how much it can warp your mind if you focus too much on beauty standards and how you're perceived by outside influences. The main character is part Egyptian, and she often makes comments that she likes her mother's pale skin compared to her own tan skin, and how she doesn't like being called quote unquote exotic, or people pointing out how, you know, how dark her skin is or how dark her hair is. Like, she just doesn't like being perceived in that way. And anytime she sees a pale person, you know, out or, you know, at this spa that she ends up going to later in the book, she always remarks about how beautiful they are and how much their skin seems to glow. And I think that it really shows how much representation matters, which we all know, like, and I think the media is getting better at this, especially when you look at, like, the 80s, whenever Belle, the main character, grew up during that time.
I have a feeling that this book is a lot of, like, I don't want to put words into this author's mouth, but I have a feeling it's really a lot about Mona Awad's own struggles and stuff.
Yeah.
Because, like, Mona Awad is from Montreal, and she is half Egyptian. So, like, I have a feeling that, like, there's, like, some unloading going on here, which I love.
Yeah, it definitely reeked of, and I say reek gently, but, like, it definitely reeked of, like, pouring your own trauma on the page. And, like, as you said, I don't hate it. I think that...
we love it.
It could be very cathartic and, like, you know, to look at yourself from the outside and realize what the beauty industry and media and all that stuff has done to your brain.
And even somebody who does not have that experience that somebody of a different ethnicity is going through, it is a good way for you to see it from somebody else's perspective.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Experience that lifestyle through the eyes of somebody else, where you are seeing how these small little microaggressions build up until it changes somebody's perception of themselves. I'm reading Babel right now, and I'm seeing the same thing where R.F. Kuang is like dropping in these little things that make me think these are things that have been said to her throughout her life, and she is unpacking them through this character.
Well, and even more than just like what you also know, like you can see it what happens to the author, but like you can see it in the very same kind of like advertising and like feeds that come up. I don't know, maybe it's just people assume a lot of things in terms of like what my like FYP should be or whatever. But like I see a lot of stuff and there's like still like there's issues in like India of like make your skin lighter by using this cream and like that kind of stuff. And it's just like it's so insidiously pervasive.
Oh, yeah.
In India, in Korea as well, like basically like most Asian countries, and I'm sure in the Arab world, it's exactly the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Belle as a character made me feel like really incredibly sad because she's just so focused on the beauty standard and how she looks different compared to everyone else around her. And like at points in the novel, she even sees herself like in, I don't want to call them visions, maybe like dreams. It's kind of hard to explain without reading the book. And like, even if I explain it to you, it wouldn't make any fucking sense. But she'll see herself and she'll make comments about how ugly she was, even though she was a child.
That's rough.
In a lot of the visions that she has, she's just 10 years old. I mean, I'm guilty as anyone else in the world. Like, I've seen pictures of me or seen myself in the mirror and been like, oh, wow, I look so ugly or whatever else. But like looking at someone else do the same thing, especially as they look at themselves as a young kid, it's just like, it's so disheartening and like it happens all the time.
Yeah.
And even now I have noticed like there's a thing happening with younger generations right now where they are so afraid of aging or having lines on their face. Like, I don't know if you guys saw it, but like they started making these like special straws so that like you don't pucker your lips.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so disturbing.
It is.
I have not seen these.
My aunt used to live with us, and her and my mom were on this big kick about, like, not using straws for a really long time for literally that exact reason. And it's just like watching these horrible, horrible beauty standards come back around and pull in these younger kids in such a predatory way.
Yeah, it's like, as someone who is, like, starting to show, like, their age, like, just, I've noticed over, like, the last year or so, like, that I'm starting to get...
I'm starting to notice wrinkles on myself, and I'm like...
Right, and, like...
That's fine.
Right, like, it doesn't... maybe, like, a couple of years ago, it would have, like, traumatized me to, like, start seeing lines on my face, or, like, notice that my skin is starting to sag. But now... growing up and, like, getting older is a blessing. Not everyone gets it. Like, you can get taken away at any time in your life. And so, like, to show, like, your age and how you've grown and, like, lived through this world that is just so, like, sometimes awful and, like, unbearable and, like, it makes you want to give up. Like, to show that you've made it and that you're still going, that you're surviving, I think is, like, a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And that... people, like, being so against, like, aging. Like, I'm terrified for the younger generation right now because as they get older, it's going to be awful.
The entire Instagram feed of Millie Bobby Brown is so sad to see.
Oh, it's terrifying. It's terrifying.
So sad.
It
just
is.
like anti-aging creams and like skincare routines,
Yes.
and she just looks like 45 in every picture.
Yeah.
Like, oh god.
She looks like she could be on Desperate Housewives.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like also like obviously the growing up
Yeah.
in the spotlight kind of thing that doesn't help.
No.
But even if you like compare her to like quote unquote child stars from back whenever like we were younger, like they actually looked like child
Yeah,
stars.
they were being
like,
sexualized, but they were not sexualizing themselves.
right. Like look at like Miley Cyrus and Hannah Montana.
Yeah.
She looked like a child.
yeah, she
you
did.
know, or you know, Hillary Duff. Like all of them looked
Yeah.
like children.
Yeah.
But now like you have like Millie Bobby Brown and like all these other young girls that look like they're almost 25
Yeah.
and they're 15 years old.
At
So.
this age, I'm honestly more concerned with where my inexplicable knee pain has come from, or like why I stayed up until 12:30 in the morning when I know I can't do that anymore, than if I have wrinkles or age spots or any kind of.
My back hurts and I'm not even 30.
Yeah, my knee has just
Why?
randomly started hurting so bad when I go up and down stairs this week, and I'm like, you know what? I don't have time to unpack this. This is a problem for later me. So
Exactly.
just don't worry about what your face looks like.
Yeah, worry about the fact that one day you're gonna wake up and your back's never gonna not hurt again.
One day
Think about
you're
that.
gonna wake up and sleeping wrong will literally take years off your life.
Which,
It
by the
will.
way, stretch every night. Take
Yes.
care of your teeth no matter what, including
Oh my
flossing.
God,
Even if you're
yes.
exhausted, brush your
Yes.
teeth, because also there's more studies that it's related to your heart health.
Yes.
But anyway,
Yes, it is.
Even if you are depressed and you feel like you can't muster the energy to do anything, brush your teeth. You only get one set of adult teeth your entire life. Please brush your teeth.
even if you don't even if you don't clean your face, despite
Yes.
the conditioning saying, oh my god, you have to wipe the makeup off your face, I don't
No,
care.
it's fine.
Skip your face, brush your teeth.
I have slept in my makeup many a time and nothing bad has happened to me yet. So brush
What's
your
interesting
teeth.
for me is like, and maybe it's just like, again, like there's definitely like a matriarchy kind of like system in my family. Mm-hmm. Marks of old age are like cherished, like when you're
Oh, I
hit.
love
So
that.
I know, and so like, and some of it is related to like the patriarchy and childbirthing and like some other stuff. Like your hips literally like change their angle if you're able to give birth. Like your hips actually change an angle when you give birth, and like just so things change, like your whole body like structure changes and stuff. And it's like, but that was marked as like something to be cherished. And like even like scars, right? Scars are stories, right? They're opportunities for telling a story.
love scars.
And just like stuff like that. And lines on your face, like laugh lines and stuff, are meant to like show
You've been happy.
that you've lived,
Yeah.
The complete opposite of how my family
Yup.
treats aging, by the
Oh,
way.
yeah. Me
But
the same.
I don't blame it on my mom. I
No.
love my mom. It's
Well-
generational trauma from higher up.
It's honestly
So-
like mine's the opposite, where my grandmother is or was like incredible about aging and that kind of thing. Like she was always the one that would joke like, I don't want to go anywhere. I'm old. Like, where do I gotta go? I just want to hang out at my house. Like, she loved being an old lady and like
Mood.
knowing that she had lived her life, But my mom and her sisters and my sisters definitely bought very heavily and continue to buy in very heavily to like diet culture and anti-aging and all that.
Oh yeah. Like there's definitely, I have that from my mom too. Just, it's hard not to. Like, and it's even
Yeah.
just comments of like, I don't know, you all were bringing up some of the stuff and I was like, I remember like diet pills or like this
Oh,
herbal
yeah.
remedy will be the, and so it's just like,
Oh, yeah.
I remember like,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that stuff was
Snake
fucking
oil.
dangerous.
This stuff is Adderall dressed up as diet pills.
Yeah, but then like I know all about it. Like my mom had me on them.
Yeah.
When I shouldn't have been.
I was in high school and I was going to the gym pretty regularly with a friend who was doing some training for an athletic event, and she like didn't want to go by herself. So I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. I'll go to the gym with you. And I remember my mom making a comment about how much weight I had lost, and I immediately stopped going to the gym because I did not want to give her the satisfaction of like commenting on my weight and my weight loss. So I was like, I'm not going to the gym anymore.
That's like so valid.
It
though.
took me years to realize, because I played a sport in college and our trainings were at like 8 to 11 p.m. at night. this is also a socioeconomic thing, but like to save money in terms of my meal plan and stuff in college, I would skip meals. And then like exercising for 3 hours at night and like skipping breakfast the next morning. And it took me years like afterwards to realize that I was like, that was an eating disorder, because it didn't feel like it.
Well, it never does in the
But
moment.
it absolutely, in terms of like calorie deficit, absolutely was.
Yeah. While we're on the topic of this, anybody listening, stop perpetuating girl dinner. You're glorifying eating disorders. Eat a real meal.
Agreed.
I've missed that, thankfully.
That's some TikTok bullshit.
Yeah. TikTok
Yeah,
bullshit.
it's
Okay.
fucking stupid.
It's so stupid.
I'm busy. I got
Now, that being said, I did have girl dinner tonight because when Ryan works at night, I just don't feel like cooking a whole meal just for me because I've gotten so used to cooking for more than one person.
Welcome to my life.
But it's fine. We're not talking about me right now.
We're not talking about me.
Can I just say that this whole discussion of skincare as an autistic person has made my skin feel very dirty?
Yeah.
I can feel... Because I haven't washed my face yet. I usually wash my face before I go to bed.
But like all you need, literally in terms of like whatever skincare, just wear sunscreen. Like that's the only thing.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
That's my skincare. That's all I do.
If you put it on, because like I have very sensitive skin. If you put on a sunscreen and it doesn't feel right, find another one.
Yes.
Yep.
There are so many, but please wear sunscreen. That's the only skincare you need.
Even in winter.
Yes, and I know what we said earlier, but like, at least wash your eye makeup off. It's bad for your eyes.
It's a bacteria thing.
Yes.
Yeah, you can get pink eye or something.
Yeah.
Wipe that stuff off.
This is the mom episode. We're teaching our
This is the title.
Yeah, we're teaching our younger listeners who don't exist because everybody that listens to this podcast is a contemporary of ours, but
You never know.
I mean, honestly, anyone who's younger has heard the first episode and we shit on TikTok and you're
Bye.
like, we're never listening to this again.
bye.
Okay, so tracking back, I guess. So in a lot of ways, this book felt really similar to Bunny in that it's like nutty and funny and weird in like a really creepy way. Every character is brainwashed and creepy, so much so that like you are entranced by everyone in the book at all times. And Rouge is no different, like as far as like the characters go. Every single person in this book is an absolute nutcase. You don't like anyone, and I don't really think that you're supposed to. Like,
Nice.
Like you're supposed to feel like disconnected and out of the picture, kind of like you would as an outsider looking in on a cult. Mona's writing is so fucking weird, but I am obsessed with it. I love it. If you've read anything by Grady Hendrix, I would say that it's kind of similar in that it's like stream of consciousness. But even still, like Rouge and Bunny and like are the only two Mona books I've read, but they very much read like stream of conscious. Like it's unlike any other book you'll ever read. The only reason I compare it to Grady Hendrix is that it's really out there and weird. And so like their writing styles feel kind of similar. Reading Rouge felt like reading the ramblings of a person that's on acid. Like it just, I would love to meet Mona Awad in person because I bet that she is absolutely hilarious. She's probably like a total freaking weirdo, but we all love our weirdos here, so
Yeah.
I don't know. I bet she's like a blast at parties. Overall, I really liked this one. It's creepy and strange. It cuts you down to the quick, which you wouldn't expect initially when you open it. And the writing is just so unique, exactly what I expected from her. And I don't really know who I'd recommend it to other than you guys, possibly.
Hey.
But I still liked it, and I'd give it 4 out of 5 stars. It was pretty good.
Nice.
Excellent.
Nice. I don't know if I'm ready emotionally for this
No.
book, but
Yeah.
it sounds really interesting. And I love how Mona Awad's brain worked.
Yeah. I wanted to read it whenever we were talking about it a couple weeks ago. I can't remember what we were discussing that brought up this book. It wasn't even this podcast episode, but
No, I don't remember. I do remember you saying that you wanted to read
yeah,
it.
and I was like, fuck yeah, I want to read that. And like right now, for some reason, I'm in this kick. This Katie Robert book was the exception. I'm in this kick of where like I'm only reading books that are very fucking dense and very full of hard topics and hard things to talk about. Like like I said, I'm reading Babel. There's another book that I have up next on my TBR called Clap When You Land, and it is about two girls who one lives in New York, one lives in the Dominican Republic, and they both find out that they are essentially the other family in their father's life after he dies, and it's them, like, dealing with that. So I don't know what's going on with me right now, but maybe I will end up reading this sooner rather than later.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe you're like, maybe I feel like unpacking all my generational trauma today.
Yeah. Well, let's pivot away from generational trauma. I have a game for all of us to play.
Okay.
I thought of this game the other day whenever I was browsing on Kindle Unlimited, and I saw just the most ridiculous title for a series. And it got me thinking about, like, how some series titles have absolutely nothing to do with the, like, book titles. So,
Okay.
I'm going to give you some books, and I want you to guess what the series title is for these books.
Oh, God.
That's gonna be impossible.
Well,
Yeah.
some of them are books that we have read and or talked about on this podcast.
Okay.
So it's just it's just a memory retention thing of, can you remember what the title is? And then there's a couple silly ones that I threw in here. For the silly ones that I threw in here, I do have a description of what the book is about, which might help you if you need
perfect.
it.
Okay.
So, like, for example, if I said The Cruel Prince, what's the series name?
The Folk of the Air.
Yeah, The Folk of the Air. So, you guys, you get it. The game is pretty straightforward. So, this is a book that Kristen brought to the podcast a couple of months ago. The Fine Print by Lauren Asher.
It's
like the Bad Billionaires or some bullshit.
Yeah, it's like Billionaire something.
Yeah. The Billionaire Brothers?
It's the Dreamland Billionaire series. Yes.
We all knew it had billionaire, because of course it does.
The billionaires that you should divorce, because what the fuck?
Or never marry in the first place, you idiot.
Divorce and take take all the money.
Yeah, take all the money.
You got a point.
All right. So this is a book that none of us have read. This is one of the silly ones. This is a book called Twisted Game by an author named Ava Ashwood, or maybe Eva Ashwood. An orphan young woman decides to sell her virginity to save herself from going homeless and hungry. But before she can, three men
fuck is
swoop
on
in.
your Kindle like...
I just went through the romance tag.
I am scared of where this sentence is going.
All right,
I'm about to
start over.
expose
I'm sorry.
myself really bad here.
Kristen has read this.
Yeah, I've read it.
You fucking read this book.
Yeah, it's Filthy Wicked Psychos.
It's Filthy Wicked Psychos. Very politically correct. Very sensitive to
I
mental
can't
health
believe
issues.
you've read that.
Filthy
I read the whole
Wicked
series,
Psychos.
and I will expose myself right here. I fucking loved every second of it.
Oh my god.
I'm not surprised.
I'm judging you.
It was so filthy and amazing. like the smut in it is I don't even care.
I'll finish with a quick synopsis, just for anybody listening who's interested. But it's an orphaned young woman decides to sell her virginity to save herself from going homeless and hungry. But before she can, three men storm in and kill the guy she was going to sleep with. And then they start essentially stalking her to make sure that she doesn't tell anybody what happened. And it turns into a relationship somehow. Who knows? But
Anyway, moving on. Next one.
anyway, moving on.
Judge Kristen.
No.
Yeah, we're judging her for sure.
Moment of silence while we all judge Kristen.
Leave me alone. I went through a lot last year, okay? It's a dark time.
Okay, this next one is a book that B brought to the podcast that we all tore apart. Always Practice Safe Hex by Juliet Cross.
Ah, shit. What was the name of the
I feel
series?
like I remember because I looked it up and now I can't remember.
Something about a coven?
No.
No, it's like, isn't it the name of the sisters or something like that?
Nope. It does have to do with magic. Lady was kind of on the right track.
I don't know. I feel like I looked at it, but I don't remember.
No idea. Magic love.
Witchcraft and something or other.
It is Stay a Spell.
That's stupid.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It was so
stupid.
dumb.
So dumb.
I hate it.
Okay. This book is called My Ex's Dad by Crowne. A girl has a one-night stand with a handsome older man who turns out to be her ex's father. This series has 14 fucking books.
Oh my god.
But anyways, what is the name of the series?
What was the name of the book again?
My Ex's Dad.
I don't know, forbidden romances.
No.
It's gotta be something kookier than that.
Think more outside the box. I did say he was an older man.
Yeah, I was gonna say DILFs.
Oh, like Silver
No,
Foxes or something like that.
It is! You're so right. It's Silver Fox Daddies.
I don't like being the oldest person on the podcast that got that one.
It tells you what you need to know.
I looked up this book on Goodreads, and it has a 4.3 rating.
Does it really?
Yeah. Like,
Jesus
That was the
Christ.
closest I've ever heard you to a Scooby noise.
I'm gonna interlude here really quick because I just found one while I was doing like a search, like for that book that Caitlin just talked about. And this book is called Claimed by My Ex's Dad and His Friend. And it has the most fucking buck wild series name. You will never guess it.
That's the title of the book?
Uh-huh.
Slain.
No.
Something to do with incest?
I wish it was that.
Childhood love.
Ugh.
It's Eggplant Canyon. Yeah.
Is that the place?
I don't know.
This is some Cambrian Creek shit.
I clicked on it and it says, if you love stories about dirty talking men who have over the top ideas about how to please their women and
No.
they want to give her babies, you should head on
No.
to
No.
Eggplant
Definitely
Canyon.
not.
Pass.
Yeah.
Pass.
Anyway,
Okay, so this last one is a book called Utterly Irresistible by Erin Nicholas, and it is about a small town romance between a new girl working. She's not new, but she's like a new girl in town working for her family's petting zoo, and this basically like town fuck up in a small veterinary practice in Louisiana.
Animal love.
Nope.
cuddly neighbors.
Nope.
I don't know. Zoo bites. Like,
Nope. Think more location.
Bayou Beauty.
Oh, you're so close.
Beauty in the Bayou?
Oh, no, it's Boys of the Bayou Gone Wild.
Mine was better.
Yours was better. There's also, I don't know why, but all of these series that have, like, completely fucking ridiculous names have, like, 20 books in them.
There's a market for them.
The only valid author who's got like 1 million books is Ruby Dixon.
Yeah. Stay tuned for the next episode.
Yeah.
Shameless plug.
On that note, let's get out of here so we can do part 2 of our anniversary episode.
Woo woo!
Surely you didn't think it was only going to be one part.
Of course not. Who am I to deny myself an indulgence?
I mean, we could have done like our first episode and just done 2 hours worth of one
nobody
episode.
would listen to that.
Nobody
I
wants
wouldn't even
that.
listen to that.
Alright, shut up.
Ow.
You can find us at Read in the Dark Pod on Instagram and Tumblr. Our email is readinthedarkpod@gmail.com if you want to ask a question about any of the books that we discussed on this episode. We also have a book club. You can find us at Warren Page Library on Instagram and Tumblr, which will have details on how to join our Discord. Finally, we are hosting some challenges on Storygraph through the book club. You only have 1 month left to finish it, which you can find by searching Warren Page Library's Book of the Month and Warren Page Library's 23 for 2023 in the challenges section of the app. Caitlin's book for this episode was Hunt on Dark Waters by Katie Robert. Kristen's book was Rouge by Mona Awad. The books that we mentioned this episode were Court of the Vampire Queen by Katie Robert, Babel by R.F. Kuang, Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo, The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, and then some other books for the game that I did not write all of them, but we mentioned The Fine Print by Lauren Asher, Twisted Game by Eva Ashwood, and My Ex's Dad by K.C. Crowne.
Ugh.
Our next episode will be out on December 5th. Keep reading and we'll see y'all next time. Bye!
Bye.
Bye.